Elizabeth was 14 when she was raped in Rotherham. She is one of the survivors of the rape gangs, one of the biggest national scandals in our history. Whilst her first rapist was convicted and sentenced, Ashgar Bostan, she was subsequently, shockingly, allegedly abused by police officers serving in South Yorkshire Police. One of those officers remains on active service today. That those who committed and covered up these abhorrent offences are put behind bars where they belong. Yeah.
It's about time that England faces the reality of what's been going on. Let's watch this, a moment in Parliament when we call out exactly an atrocity that occurred to a 14-year-old Elizabeth. Let's listen to this.
On congratulating him on his engagement, Ben, the best jet.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On the 9th of February 2020, the Home Secretary co-signed a letter to the then Prime Minister urging him to suspend a deportation flight to Jamaica for foreign national offenders. Fabian Henry, convicted of grooming and raping 2 young girls, was removed from that flight and is believed to still be living in the UK. Having previously campaigned to keep him in the country, even demanding the flight be halted in this chamber, has she now taken any action as Home Secretary to deport this dangerous child rapist who she helped to remain in the country?
Well, let me say to the honourable gentleman, I signed that letter because one of the individuals was a constituent of mine and he had served in the British Armed Forces for this country, 2 tours of Afghanistan, was British in every meaningful way and should have had his case looked at more specifically by the then Home Office before being placed on that deportation flight. On the specific case, I will look at those details and write to him.
I think my question is for Simon Ridley, who I see, Simon, from your CV, you've been involved in other national challenges such as COVID-19 and the Brexit situation. What concerns me is when I use my parliamentary office to ask questions of the Home Office on these issues, on virtually every occasion I get the Home Office does not hold the information sought in these questions at the level of granularity requested. And that's for information packs, recreational activities provided, cleaning services, franchising and furnishing and decorating, antisocial behaviour. A whole raft of questions that I ask, I get that answer. So that worries me. I have asked many parliamentary questions. I've drilled down. I find that there are contracts where hotel rooms have been fully paid for, i.e. the entire hotel's been taken and yet it's half full. I think there's a lack of knowledge and understanding of these complex contracts, both within the ministerial departments and also within your department. So, from the point of view of the taxpayer, if the private sector is indulging in very complex contracts, which you're signing that aren't fit for purpose, then taxpayer money is going to be wasted massively. Again, I'd like to know, can we have complete transparency of what's in these contracts? When I ask the questions, I get that's a redacted version.
Okay.
So
I think, Rupert, we've got the message.
No, but Jeffrey, it's very important that we've got to have transparency on this if we are to get to the bottom of it. And I don't think we have transparency. And I think we haven't got transparency because very often the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing.
There have been significant challenges with how the accommodation system has developed over many it's built on contracts that were signed in 2019. The use of hotels came much later and was not at that point intended. To the point on, and we have done a lot in the department to strengthen our contract management and our commercial functions to support the scrutiny of that, and as a result have got money back for the taxpayer. We also, the Home Affairs Select Committee did a very long report into all of these issues, including into the detail of the contracts. And one of the things we have been doing in recent months is again, the Permanent Secretary requested an external review of our commercial functions in this area so we can get further challenge and make sure that we are continuing to develop our capability as best we can.
Final question, Suella Brabham.
Give her a moment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I recently recently met one of the bravest women I know. Elizabeth was 14 when she was raped in Rotherham. She is one of the survivors of the rape gangs, one of the biggest national scandals in our history. Whilst her first rapist was convicted and sentenced, Ashgar Bostan, she was subsequently, shockingly, allegedly abused by police officers serving in South Yorkshire Police. One of those officers remains on active service today. Elizabeth made complaint through Operation Linden. None of them were followed up. She rightly feels betrayed and failed by the very institution designed to protect her. Will the Prime Minister meet with Elizabeth, rape gang survivors and myself to commit that those who committed and covered up these abhorrent offences are put behind bars where they belong?
Yeah. Well, I'm deeply concerned about the facts she's just outlined, and if she could give us all the details of that, I'll make sure that there is a relevant meeting and follow-up in relation to those concerns.
Wow, this was an incredible peek into the British Parliament. Very different than our Senate, House, for Congress, etc. This is a very different way the way they go about their issues. But she brought to light a horrific, terrible event that happened to this Elizabeth as a 14-year-old being raped, and then later on being abused by police officers that just went unchecked. And she called out the Labour Party. Are you going to meet with her? And the reason why she called it out is because England is, some say they are at a brink of a civil war. England has gone so far left and so liberal that they're taking thousands of years and just changing the course of history. The Great Britain Empire, you're talking about the London Bridge is falling down. Everything that Britain and England stood for is crumbling by being so liberal and having such a Labour Party who is ignoring of what is happening under the nose. And they're trying to be politically correct, in the meantime committing suicide for England. When they opened up their borders and allowed unchecked radical Islamists to take over neighborhoods and cities in London and elsewhere. We saw what happened in Manchester in the Jewish community on Yom Kippur, when an unhinged Islamist radical jihadist came and killed and intended to breach into the synagogue on the holiest day of the Jewish calendar. This is a direct result of the Labour Party allowing the sentiments, the anti-Semitism, the blatant anti-Semitism that it's been allowed in England, in London, in Manchester, and through Yorkshire, wherever it's throughout England. It should be a wake-up call. It's never too late, but we, the rest of the world, are taking a lesson from this, that we cannot duplicate or repeat what England has done, what France has done. These two countries, side by side, are now basically being overrun in numbers, in sheer numbers, but basically by birthrights, as the Muslims are having multiple births, and yet the French and the English are having single births. The numbers, the population is in no time would become a majority. And look what's going to happen to our beautiful Paris. Look what's going to happen to our majestic England. Let's learn a lesson from this and make sure this does not happen to the United States of America. We are about to get into our 250th anniversary of the United States of America. Imagine in 250 short years, a quarter of a century, we went from zero to superpower, dominating the whole world, with being the envy of the whole world. And what is it that America brought to the world? It brought to the world the concept of freedom. The concept that every human being created by God has a right to be free, has a right to think on their own, has a right to dress whatever clothes they want, has a right to pray in whatever language, and to believe in whatever theological system. Everyone has rights. And the Bill of Rights, the Constitution of the United States of America, has done just that. And that is something new to the world. The world up until then did not allow human beings to think on their own and to be all that they can be. They were just held back by tyrannies, by governments, by empires who never allowed the human being to express themselves and to be able to work all that they can and to be able to take the talents that God has given them and be all that they can be. And that is the gift of America. And here we are, reaching our 250th anniversary. Let us learn from the mistakes of others, and let us maintain our Constitution and the right for every American to be all that you can be, and let not be bullied by radical Islamist jihadists and to try to take this away from us. God bless you. God loves you.